Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. I'm Matt. I'm your game master for the evening, as I am all evenings of Symbaroum. And that's exactly what we're playing tonight. We return to Thistlehold, to its grimy bowels, lovely, to carry on our story. We're playing through the Throne of Thorns campaign and starting with this, the first installment of it, Wrath of the Warden, which is going swimmingly. As ever, our stream is managed by the wonderful John, who I'm sure will pop on and show his lovely face to the world. Hi, John.
Hi, Matt.
Oh, your mic's working now, then.
Yeah, it was working
I forgot that you talked after that. It's fine. Oh God. So John will be working. We'll be tinkering away behind the scenes with rules queries and cams and art and all that good stuff. And he does a very good job, and we never forget that he's talked. That'll do. So, some promo before we bring the players on. There's a bunch of links down below. There's links to YouTube and Twitch. You're watching on one. Please check out the other and follow and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. Give us a like, hammer thing. I don't know whatever the other YouTubers say. Do all that stuff for us as well. Also check out our social media, our Discord, where you're free to join up and talk to us about role-playing stuff. Our Patreon, where you can support us in return for lovely treats like access to the Patreon part of our Discord and GM notes and character creation videos and all sorts of stuff like that. And we run 3 regular streams a week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, each of them starting at 8 o'clock p.m. BST. And that's Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, Tuesdays is Blades in the Dark, and Wednesdays is Symbaroum. This week as well, we will also be running a 1-year anniversary stream. We've been running a year already, which is crazy. And that is tomorrow evening. That's Thursday, the 9th of September at 8 o'clock p.m. BST. We also do monthly one-shot streams of various different systems. September's one of those is this coming Saturday. That is Saturday the 11th, and that'll start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST, and we're going to be playing Dungeon World. Pierre's going to be running that with a lovely little crew. So there we go. That's all the promo. And I managed to get it through all of it, despite the fact that in private chat, my players are doing every single thing they can to try and make me corpse on camera because they're scum, subhuman scum. So let's bring on the first of those scum in Stephen. Hi, Stephen. Stephen plays Elindra, the former Templar turned adventurer. Stephen, let us know where we were last time when we picked up.
Well, so when we started, we had been having a fighty old time of it in Thistlehold. Events had transpired, the most dramatic of which was an enormous sinkhole had opened up, essentially around the tavern where we were supposed to be meeting somebody that was going to give us a job. And from out of there had poured all kinds of nasty, corrupt abominations, which we had just finished dispatching. We started last time in the aftermath of that, kind of licking our wounds, helping to rebuild the barricades around the hole stronger, and sort of planning what to do next, really.
That was pretty much it. You talked to a couple of people, kind of did a bit of catching up after people had stopped hacking things to death.
Yeah, that's right. And Tom spoke to the Eufrinda from the Auto Magica.
That's right.
Who was interested in finding some adventurers to go and have a look down the hole.
Potentially so, yeah. Which
I don't think we were especially keen on initially.
No, but then maybe thought. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out in the rest of the recap how events transpired later. Another thing that happened was that Stio talked to Captain Marvello to try and get sort of permission to talk to the witches lurking outside the gates, and to talk about how that went. Let's bring on Stio's player, Chris. Stio, the gnarled and grizzled old veteran turned town guard and adventurer and sellsword. Hi, Chris. Why don't you let us know how the meeting with the witches went?
I was under the impression that my section was the Auto Magica interview, but I can do this part as well.
Oh, God, it absolutely was. I have done this completely wrong. Well then. Let's bring... And now I'm having a coughing fit. This is going so well. Bring on Mike. Bring on Mike. Mike's section is talking about the witches. Hi, Mike. Mike plays Anton, our resident Theurg, father of Prios, and brainer of wolves. Mike, why don't you tell me about the meeting with the witches, being as you're the one who could speak their language?
It went okay. For the second time, we met the witches, and they didn't attack us, which was considered a success. We kind of informed them about what had been going on in Thistlehold since the attack. They asked a few questions about it. We asked them about how come they knew that something was going to happen, and they informed us that their Huldra, who's their leader in Karvosti, had a dream sight, a vision that this was going to happen. And so they kind of came down here to investigate. I think the dream site actually went into a little bit more detail about it being a dying god bringing forth the black in the plunderer's town. So, yeah, that doesn't bode well, does it?
Doesn't sound good.
No. After that, there was a bit more chat. We had a sort of a pretty loose conversation about the Iron Pact and, that whole thing. And what kind of transpired from that was that Ascarai showed them his Iron Pact ring. They sort of asked to take it, to inspect it. He said no. They seemed okay with that, but indicated that he may need to start to fulfill his obligations as someone who holds an iron ring at some point in the future. And then they departed with a parting comment that was the word nevermore, I think. Is that right?
Correct. They seem to be primarily addressing it at
hopefully will just be like a loose end that never gets tied up and means absolutely nothing significant.
Yeah, probably. That seems about right for one of my stories, right? So I'm not someone who obsesses over detail, not at all. So with that, let's now actually move on to Chris's section. Chris playing Steo, who I've already talked about. But yeah, you got an appointment with the Ordo Magica. So why don't you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, so I think we ended up in the pub, and we did have the Eufrinda had optioned us to come in for a chat, given that we seemed to be the most competent, and we had worked with them before. So we kind of sent a runner and decided to go ahead. I was kind of making motions to get to chat with Mayor Nightpitch, if at all possible, before that. But it's hard to get a meeting with the King of the World, or the King of Thistlehold anyway. So we went to the Ordo Magica Tower, and in the room was Eufrinda and a more senior mage, apparently, who was even more shirty than Eufrinda, who is pretty legendarily shirty. And we basically talked a bit about our observations from the pit, and the more senior mage. Oh, there was another one in the room as well, but
there was so many mages.
Yes.
There was so many. There was Eufrinda, who you've dealt with before. There was Chapter Master Cornelio, who was rather terse and seemed a little bit annoyed with Eufrinda. And there was also another master who you'd encountered near the sinkhole.
Oh, of course, yes.
And I can't actually remember. Did at any point was he introduced?
Yeah, we got his name.
Yeah, he's Cullinan Furia.
Yeah, it's called Furia.
Yeah.
It's pretty rock and roll.
He didn't contribute too much.
Yeah, I don't think he was introduced. I think somebody just mentioned his name in passing.
Yeah.
And I made a note to remember.
But anyway, the long and short of it was that they wanted us to go down the hole, and immediately I was like, nope. And then they kind of clarified that they want us to go down the hole for about 30 minutes to begin what is going to be a long and painstaking excavation and analysis job. So we kind of agreed on principle that it's going to be a short job and a fairly safe job. So we wandered back over to the sinkhole and managed to get involved with the town guard as well, who managed to grandfather one of the guard members came down with us. And
yeah, well, two people came down with you. In fact, you had an adept from the Ordo Magica who'd come down with you, a changeling called Ganderald. And basically, you were under instructions to protect him and not go out, I believe, any further than where the light falls.
Yeah.
So, which isn't a large area. It's basically just the rubble that's fallen down from the town. But yeah, Captain Marvello came down with you, I believe.
Captain Marvello kind of grandfathered themselves in a very skillful bit of diplomacy as well.
Yeah.
And one of the striking things that I think Alindra, you spotted, was that this place is deeply squiffy in terms of like the scent of corruption almost about the place.
Deeply squiffy is the technical term, yes. Yeah, no, the witch site kicked off looking at the area, and it was kind of roiling wisps of smoke that was just all kinds of bad.
Yeah, pretty unpleasant place. So that's our crew for tonight, folks. Sam isn't joining us this week; he's away at the moment. So, but he'll be back next week. So, for the purposes of this, certainly this scene at least, assume that Ascarai is kind of stood maybe near the top of the rubble mound, where there's the most light, kind of keeping watch with that bow of his as your primary damage dealer, right? So, yeah, let's pick up where we left off. You are all stood on a vast mound of rubble at the base of the sinkhole. There is light coming from overhead. You know, it's maybe kind of late morning time, so you've got plenty of time there. Ganderold already has kind of a sort of scribe's notepad out and is scribbling kind of observations and looking around, kind of poking at the rubble a little bit with his feet. And Marvello is just like roaming near the edge of where that where the light ends, just kind of like peering very cautiously out and very slowly pacing almost round the edges of this and keeping an eye out. He has nothing to look for, so he is just concentrating on sort of looking around and keeping watch over you.
Cool. My instinct would have been to do the same, really, to sort of circle the perimeter, see if I could see anything that looked like an opening that went further underground, and also, I guess, seeing if the bad vibes were concentrated more in certain areas.
Sure, absolutely. How about the other two of you? So let's find out what everyone's doing, and then we can make some rolls or whatever.
I can't remember if I tried to do this in the end of last session, but like maybe I'll try and cast Blessed Shield.
I can't remember if you did as well, but go for it again.
I will try and do it.
Presumably, what would tell us is if you well, I don't know if you tried or not, but if you succeeded, you would have some temporary corruption, wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah, I haven't got temporary corruption, so I know that I definitely wasn't successful, but I don't know if I tried. But sure. I'm successful this time.
Okay.
So great. Thank you.
Don't forget your corruption.
And it's just 1 point now because I'm the next level.
Oh yeah, you got next level of the great.
So no scary dice rolls for that. I think that in terms of like what Anton's doing, like perhaps sticking pretty close towards the back of the group. Maybe if we're kind of all circling around, I presume that we're all sticking together here rather than carelessly going.
I mean,
individual.
In all honesty, while the sinkhole was very large, like the area at the bottom that the sun is actually shining on is not that large. Maybe I think I described the sinkhole as it's 80 paces across. And I would say the section at the bottom where you can actually see properly is probably about 50 paces across. So really not very large at all. So everyone is fully, there's nowhere to hide. You know, it's just mounds of various rubble, which some of them reach up to maybe waist height, but everyone can definitely see each other. And at the edges of the light, like the rubble starts to slope away down to presumably the cavern floor, the tunnel floor, whatever we would call this. So yeah, but you can generally do whatever you want within sight of everyone else, for sure.
So I'll call out to the group in general. Anton, keep an eye on Alindra and Marvello. Ascarai, keep an eye on everything other than those two. Do we want to put a fire arrow out there?
While this is going on, Alindra, you said you were at the edge of the kind of the visible area. Why don't you give me a vigilant roll?
Sure. Let's have a look. Vigilant. Any modifiers?
Nope.
Cool. Then I need a 10, and I get a 4.
Okay. So there are a couple of things, you mentioned you were trying to look for entrances. Unfortunately, the combination of light here and darkness deeper in there, there is really nothing to be seen. You get a vague sense of a much wider space beyond this huge hill of rubble that you're on, but you don't get any sense of being able to see walls or other entrances or anything like that. It's too far into the darkness for you to see.
Okay.
What you do detect, though, you can hear faint, dry rustling sounds, and kind of sounds maybe of something disturbing debris, like little things being knocked over, and a faint, sweet odor of rotting meat.
Okay. I will...
Nothing approaching, it's out there.
I will turn to the other Stanley bit that's nearby and just with kind of gestures, just sort of point to where the sound is coming from and indicate that there is something to hear there, and just make sure that people are aware that there is something there.
Sure. Askarai, it's a very vague direction you get from this, but Askarai, for what it's worth, has a bow knocked and is sort of aiming in that general direction and keeping an eye on it.
Cool.
I'll go and bother our mage friend. Kind of.
Sure.
Maybe kind of hover next to him and kind of. I want to intrude. So I'll just ask him, what are you looking for?
What? Sorry, who was that addressed to? Sorry,
To the mage.
To Ganderald.
Yeah.
He kind of turns around and says, "I'm just taking notes on what's down here. I was under the impression that you had something to look for."
Pile of rubble, is it?
That's what I can see. And bodies.
Lots and lots of bodies. Do you think we should put some light into the greater hold? I don't think anyone told us not to.
You do as you wish. I'm simply here to observe and take notes. It might attract some things here if there are things out there to attract.
There might be things out there to attract, given the body language of my compatriots. I'll kind of step
at this
back
point, maybe
towards the
Antom's
bubble man.
sidled up.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to interrupt. I think I got a bit of lag. At this point, I think Antom's just going to sidle up and say, I think we only light this place up if we've run out of other things to investigate.
No one so far has made mention of trying to find the remains of the Fern Tavern and perhaps the remains of the woman who was trying to hire you from something, which is, I believe, at least partly why we're down here.
I think Theo, being confronted by the massive scope of this, unless through some device of random chance, the sign for the Fern Tavern is sticking up from a lonely promontory, it's going to be very hard to figure this out from a lump of rubble, and I've kind of given up.
Okay, that was a cool campaign, folks. Let's knock it on the head there and move on.
Well, I think
Great.
I think Anton would probably see that first objective while we're down here is investigate the kind of entrances to this sinkhole as far as we can, not stepping into the darkness, but where have these things come from? Can we see anything further down these tunnels? So yeah, I will make moves to sort of peer into the darkness and also examine bodies and stuff like that, corpses that remain.
Sure.
And if nothing sort of springs out from that, then maybe we then sort of start to pick amongst the rubble.
Sure. Absolutely.
Maybe we'll ride the railroad to Storytown.
Sure. Well, you're as I said, you will get the same result as Alindra if you kind of look out at the edge of the edge of the visible part of the mound. Whatever lies beyond is clearly too large or too dark to actually see anything in, unless you actually want to, get some kind of torch and go into it, which you were expressly told not to. But you still do it. You're a free man. So you could do that. As far as kind of examining, taking a general look at the environs and the rubble and the bodies. Why don't you give me a vigilant roll for that? And I'll give you some details.
Was that?
Yeah, successful 2.
Sure. The rubble is, as you would expect, primarily the buildings and the streets from above, where everything collapsed inwards. The bodies are a real mix of the citizens of Thistlehold. There's a few guards down here as well. There are quite a number of the Beast Clan scattered around as well, who tumbled back down the hole after being killed. And you can see that there are definitely more bodies that you kind of can't fully see. Every now and then you see a hand or a leg kind of sticking out, coated in dust from where the rubble has piled on top of them. So there's a real variety. Yeah, it's as you'd expect. It's like picking through an area after an earthquake or something along those lines.
I think I know the answer to this, but there's nothing to be gained for from sort of taking one of the flesh crafted bodies back up to the surface, right? Because there's already dead flesh crafted. Yeah.
When you said it, I was like, "Ooh, that could be an interesting thing for them." And then I realized there will be so many bodies.
Yeah, I thought so, but okay, just checking.
All of them look. Yeah, you saw all of those bodies have now been removed from the area, and presumably the Order Magica have got their paws on at least some of them.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, you imagine that's already been handled.
I think I'm gonna prep a torch.
Sure.
Uh-oh. I have a thing that I would like to do. I would like to use Witch Sight on Ganderald.
Go for it.
So that's my vigilant against his discreet.
Okay, let me see if he has stats. Otherwise, I'll just go with... Oh, that's not the right place. Ganderald, where are you? Where are you, friend? Yeah, he does have stats. His discreet is just 9, so that's vigilance is a +1.
Vigilance +1, okay.
Yeah. And I think you do need to roll corruption for this as well, right?
So I failed in the Witch Sight, and I don't roll corruption. I just take a temporary.
Oh, right, it's just 1 temporary corruption. Cool.
1 point of temporary corruption, yeah.
Well, we actually have a homebrew here, and I don't know if... It's kind of a homebrew in that the book doesn't entirely make it clear, in that if you fail on a mystical power, you don't take corruption, so don't bother with it, it's fine.
Okie dokie.
You can't perceive whether he's, perhaps has some kind of mystical wards against this kind of thing, or whether it's just very difficult to see people's kind of auras down here amongst all this roiling corruption. You can't, you don't perceive anything. But he seems quite just happily interested, like scribbling things down and looking around, quite passively, really.
Cool.
So I think I'll kind of wave the torch a bit to gather people's attention and ask them to come back up to near the top of the mound and get everyone together. Sure.
Marvello stays like within earshot, but a little bit further away. He still seems to be quite paranoid, keeping his eyes on the edge of the light.
I think it's worthwhile seeing how far this goes when I throw it off the side. They told us we weren't to go any further in the light. They didn't tell us we weren't to probe any further.
So we're going to just start throwing flaming torches around in the rubble and darkness.
Just one. What else can we learn from a pile of rubble?
That it's a boring pile of rubble and that we could climb back out and get paid. If you want to do the things, Dio, you do the thing. This is your town.
Do you reckon, Anton?
If you get the blessing of Captain Marvello, then be my guest, dear.
Marvello can hear this and just kind of shrugs and says, "Throw a torch if you want to throw a torch, but I'd suggest we stand firm as we do so."
Where are you throwing it, dear?
Pick your favorite direction. I suppose towards the forests would make the most sense, wouldn't it, if we're being analytical about it?
So north.
Northish.
Yeah, and you know where north is, you know where it is above, so you know where it is down here.
Okay, everyone ready? Waiting a moment for any last descent, I will give the torch a nice underarm hoy towards the entry that I assume they would have come in, kind of that direction northward.
Sure. Well, why don't you give me a strong roll to see how well you do with that?
Not my best stat, actually. One die. Oh wow! I rolled a 20.
Steo takes a good underhand swing with the torch, and it's what's the best thing to do here? Yeah, that. And basically, about 2 feet away from your arm, you swing and throw it so hard and fast that the flame goes out, and it just spins fully in the light as just a charred bit of wood for a few seconds, and then disappears off into the darkness with a sort of a series of sort of tumbling clunks.
Huge success, gentlemen.
Just so I know, are there like a crowd of people around the edge of the sinkhole watching this?
Oh God, you're on mute, Matt, but I know how this is going to
There
end.
are certainly a couple of people looking down, like town guards and so on, but you suspect that it's far enough down that they can't really see what's happening down there all that well.
Okay.
There's certainly no one going, which you would normally expect in Thistlehold. They could definitely see what was going on.
If anyone was going to do that, I feel like it would have been Dirac.
Yeah. No, he would have shouted something insulting and sweary, but yeah.
Well, is that a sign, Theo, or will I throw another one?
I think
there's either a ghost or a dog behind Mike.
Ghost dog.
Dog.
Oh.
I think you should try again.
Okay. This is this is like my second last torch, everyone.
20.
Here we go again. 6, that'll do.
Okay. This time it's fine. This time you don't throw it underarm. You kind of like just spin it overhand, and it kind of twirls through the air, and it lights up a little way around it, but it becomes very clear to you because you throw it a fair way beyond what feels like the bottom of the mound of rubble, a good maybe 30 or 40 paces more, and all it illuminates is what appears to be a rocky cavern floor. It doesn't, it's illuminating maybe 12, 15 feet or so around it, and you can't see an edge or any kind of other entrance or any features at all, really.
Does this cavern and maybe like any other entrances look older than Thistlehold itself, or do they look more like very recent excavations? Or
nothing you've seen? You haven't seen really any walls, and like where the roof pulls away, it's difficult to tell because it's so clogged with soil and scrap from the street above. Honestly, I would say you haven't really had a good look at whatever the cavern walls look like. So it's difficult to tell if it's like artificial or natural.
Okay.
And without even knowing that, I'd say you really have no chance of me answering that question for you.
Well, given that there's some light in that cavern now, should we go a bit closer to investigate?
Is it sunlight?
Yeah, you're getting a bit spicy for me, Anton.
Anton should know the answer to that question, you'd hope.
Look, but could we stand in sunlight and get closer to it, maybe? I don't know.
Look, we've got some good observations.
Ganderold speaks up quite quietly from behind the group and just says, just to be clear, are you trying to somehow out-logic the master's instructions?
No, I want to very much stay within their instructions because I do not fancy the idea of an untimely death. But I also do want to accomplish something while we're down here. So I would like to gather as much information as we can in the safest way possible.
We got some good information there, Ganderol, though. There's rock under here. It's very large, and that overhang is not structurally sound from where I'm stood. I don't like cities floating on top of a massive gap.
Certainly not. There seems to be quite a lot of material scattering down on us from above. which is at least partly why I would suggest not throwing torches further in, following the trail of light and feeling like we have somehow followed our instructions.
Sharp kid.
I'm going to go look for the tavern.
That's a good idea. Stay in the light.
Yeah, assuming that the tavern is within the circle of the light.
I want to make it clear, Ganderald saying that doesn't mean you can't do it. Like, it's just... he's rather keen on this, on obeying what he was told to do.
I think we came down to this hole quite reluctantly in the first place, and now that we're down here, I'm not enormously inclined to suddenly turn into a big hero.
Yeah, just for clarity as well, Anton wasn't suggesting that we do ignore the Ordo Magica's instructions. Like it wasn't like some sort of weird circumvention of their rules. It was just like, can we move towards the edge of the sunlight, near to where the lit torch is, and gather any more information? But,
sure. I'm happy for you to have done that and to have got no more information. Because, as I said, when Elindra was like the torch being there, all it's really told you is that whatever this is, it's big, because you cannot see any further detail from the torch, which means the walls and everything like that must be, again, much further back. So, yeah.
I think the Ordo might eventually want to send some more powerful light sources down here, but that is probably for another day.
Well, yeah, what they said to you was that this is an expedition to kind of like just gauge the area, and then there will be a full, more comprehensive expedition down later, which if you do well in this and wish to be part of, perhaps you can persuade them that you would be an asset to this. That was kind of Euphrinda's attitude, is like, prove that you can do this by keeping the adept safe, and then maybe you can come along for the bigger one.
So
wouldn't that be a treat?
I think, esteemed colleagues, that a pile of rubble looks a bit more filled with good knowledge when you view it from a distance and above. I don't think we're going to find any trace of the tavern here, or any of our comrades. Let's take a look, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I'm essentially thinking about kicking around in the rubble, seeing if I can recognize anything that might be from the tavern. Largely because we're all down the hole. Nobody seems to be making a move to leave the hole, and I can't think of other things to look for down here without breaking the rules. So,
and again, I would emphasize this is exactly what you came down here to do. I was under the impression.
Yeah.
So perhaps, we could do that. Who among you is going to try and figure out the rough area where the remains of the Fern Tavern might be found?
Yeah,
you can all do it. I'm just asking on who's going to make rolls. That's what I'm asking, basically.
I'm happy to. I don't know if there are others that might be better at finding things or know the area as it was better, but I guess I remember what the tavern was like. So
sure.
I think
so.
Go
on.
I think we'll let Anton and Elindra handle that, and I'll continue kind of with Ascarai guarding and observing.
Sure. Well, let's hope they make the roll then. So, if both of you could give me a roll of cunning -3, please.
I got a 1.
Hey,
I got a 16, which is not a success.
Well, luckily, Anton nailed it. Anton, you kind of have a think to yourself about the layout of the block above before it fell in, and sort of pace out where the streets roughly were, and kind of almost close your eyes and mentally start like pacing out the street, turning the corner a few steps forward, and you open your eyes thinking this should be about the place, and lo and behold, Anton, in front of you, dusty and slightly cracked in the rubble, is the crumpled copper sign for the Fern Tavern.
Steo, Elindra.
Steo, Elindra, Ascaro.
Oh, God. Steo, Elindra, I think I found it. Fern Tavern, the sign.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's 1 in a million, or at least 1 in 20.
I will go over there and have a look, maybe see if any other rubble can be moved.
Almost all of the rubble can certainly be moved, but obviously it's a case of moving the right rubble. Anyone who is kind of looking around the area and scattering things from side to side or investigating in any way can go ahead and make a vigilant roll, please.
Unless there's a bonus to that, I do not make it.
There is. Well, you know what? You got the you got that special number 1, right? So go ahead and take a +3.
I make it. I just needed a +1.
There we go. So Anton, as you're kind of looking around the place to see if there's anything you can kind of see of any importance or recognize, you kind of grab that crumpled copper sign and lift it up, and underneath it, partially covered by the rubble, is the body, or at least the upper half that you can see, dust covered and unpleasantly mangled body of a young woman with long brown hair. You're on mute.
Oh. Well, I'll nod to Steo and Alindra to get them round, and I guess maybe, I don't know, would it be kind of like because this is someone we sort of vaguely know, to sort of maybe look at taking their kind of corpse out of here so we could perform like a more, kind of, a proper rite.
It's certainly not outside of the realms of possibility, but getting someone up that rope, might be difficult at this stage.
Maybe first of all, we'll just free her body from the rubble completely. Yeah.
So as you are doing so, and her body seems mostly intact. If it's not a pleasant sight. And there's a couple of things that we can note. One is that she has a belt purse on, which seems to contain, as someone kind of drags the lower half of her body out of the rubble. You can let's randomly determine who does that. Steo, you kind of brush it with your hand, and you can feel there's several kind of large, bulky items in there. And someone else, let's say it is Alindra, notices that there is a broken necklace tangled up in her hair. Alindra, can you give me a cunning roll, please?
Sure. Success.
So it's a necklace, but it looks like it has a medallion which has snapped off and is presumably somewhere in the rubble around.
Okay. I will look around to see if I can find something of that description.
Absolutely. Why don't you give me a vigilant roll at -5, please?
Oof. I suppose it's
and
quite a small thing.
If you mention it to other people, they can also look for it. It's up to you.
I'll try on my own for now. That is of course a fail. So I will show the necklace to the others and say I think there may have been a medallion on this, but I can't find it now.
Just keep these investigations to ourselves as much as possible. But I'll take a look, see if I have any better luck.
Okay, if the other two of you want to look for this medallion, again, vigilant at -5.
4 or less. 15.
No problem. Well, you know what? He's the vigilant hound. So I'm gonna make a roll for Askarai. I know Mike on our Discord earlier did offer to make the rolls for Askarai, but probably for the best not to, eh?
We'd like to.
I can't remember if it's. I think his vigilant might even be 16. Or maybe he upped his discreet with his exceptional attribute. I can't remember. Either way, I'm gonna assume it's 15. So I'm gonna make a. It's a 2. Askarai's kind of stood near you now, and he's still kind of aiming at the darkness with his bow and arrow, but he kind of tips his head as Elindra, you're still kind of like looking through the rubble, and says, "There, glinting under that beam. Is that it?"
Move the beam. Or get under it.
There is indeed something glittering just underneath the beam. The beam. It is a medallion. It is a pendant depicting the sinking sun of Prios, which is a very typical symbol used by Prios worshippers. It is in gold on a thin silver plate, not an unvaluable item, and engraved on the back piece are the words "To Anadea, my beloved daughter."
Okay.
Oof, that's pretty heartbreaking.
I will pocket that.
Can I try and also, as discreetly as possible, pocket the purse item?
Sure. Yeah. It's like a fairly hefty belt purse, like a kind of a medieval bum bag. Which I wonder how well that term translates to people outside of the UK. But yeah, you absolutely can. Yeah.
Right.
Marvello, like, you're not sure if what you were doing would be controversial to Marvello anyway, but for what it's worth, he's kind of still scouting the perimeter. Ganderald has noticed. We'll tell you what, give me a discreet roll. Ganderald is the only person watching who maybe might be fussed about it. You don't really know. So why don't you give me a discreet roll modified by his vigilant, which means it's at -5.
Wow, it's 1 or 20 here, folks. That's a 15 again.
You kind of like tuck the purse into a pocket, and you look up and see Ganderald. He kind of looks at you and just goes,
"Duly noted."
But he knew you were down here looking for someone.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but he, for what it's worth, he knows that you took it. But yeah. So what are you doing with her body? Like, are you going to try and take it up, or are you just going to kind of like at least lay it here so that when people do come down, it's easily recoverable?
I believe that's Anton's department.
I mean, you could, if you wanted to, if you're worried about her body staying sacrosanct down here, you could give her a funeral right now. You know the rights.
I think it maybe changes things, though, knowing that. Well, I guess we don't. I mean, obviously she's someone's daughter, but it's kind of brought into sharp relief that she may have other family and acquaintances, and maybe it's not our place to give her the rights without them there.
Mm-hmm.
I also think there's a lot of people down in this hole, and singling one out for special treatment is. There's a lot of upset families right now.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think we'll just do the honourable thing and loot her body and then just get out of this hole.
The priest.
It's what she would have wanted.
I mean, you can try if you wanted to bring her up either yourself, or maybe you can tie her to one of the ropes, or the last person can try and tie her to one of the ropes. But if that goes wrong, this body's pretty mangled, and if that goes wrong, it could be quite unpleasant.
In the interest of the fact, and I'll do this in character, in the interest of the fact that this is in quite a public space, I don't propose we take any risks lifting the body at this time.
Yeah, this is something that we were interested in, but in terms of the job that we were sent here to do, I feel like this is outside our remit.
Yeah, and we're kind of finished with that as well, unless Ganderald wants anything else. I'll walk over to him now and kind of.
He the young changeling kind of looks up at you and shrugs and says, "I am down here for as long as you wish to be down here. I've taken my notes. There's a limited amount as to what we can look at, but we knew that before we started clambering down."
I completely agree. So shall we begin clambering up?
He nods, heads towards the ropes. Marvello kind of strides over and does the same. He looks around, and I know, Elindra, you said you were over near kind of the edge of the light a fair bit, probably more so than the others. And he looks over at you and says, "Did you hear the noises?"
I did. Sounded like something small. Sounded like it was staying in the darkness. I guess we'll keep an eye on it as we depart.
Could be animals, scavengers down here, or maybe more of those things.
I'm going to tell myself it was rats.
Rats.
Maybe it was rats. Either way, I don't think we should come back down here again without at least a platoon of guards.
I think that's reasonable.
I'll talk to the masters of the Ordo Magica. We'll see if we can get some kind of group expedition down here. And if you want to be on it, I'll make sure you're on it.
Thanks.
He sheathes his sword and kind of strides over to one of the other ropes and kind of takes a grip on it and starts to heave himself up and out. And I'm assuming you guys are all doing the same.
Yep, I'll go last.
Well then, I'm not going to make you roll for getting out as well, because that's so boring. So you all slowly clamber your way to the surface. I'd say probably only an hour or so has passed. So it's probably around noon, around that time, as you clamber up to the top of the hole. Can everyone please give me a vigilant roll as you do so?
Okay.
Needed 13, rolled 13.
Needed 10, got 16.
Lovely. And Chris, sorry, that was a no. Okay, well, Anton, anyway. Anton, you notice a woman watching you. I mean, there's a few people around kind of like generally paying attention, but there is a woman watching the group of you quite intently from a distance on the other side of the sinkhole. She is leaning against a raised wall close to the hole. Her facial expression indicates intense disapproval and deep concern. Can you give me a roll of cunning +5, please?
That's another one.
You recognize the person immediately. And John, although now as I say it, I'm slightly worried that I didn't send you this person's picture before today. I did indeed, that's fine. John, can you give me the image for Lysindra, please? So the person you recognize, and you recognize her largely because as a member of Mother Mahira's agency, albeit a kind of one at slight random rather than an intentional fortune seeker, you are aware of many of the famous older fortune seekers and treasure hunters of the city. Obviously, the most famous one of those is Last Four Night Pitch the Mayor. But there are many others as well who now have mostly retired and operate various things within the town. The woman watching you has been pointed out to you before. She is Lysindra Goldengrasp, a woman of kind of sort of middle years, but still marked out very clearly around Thistlehold by her mass of flaming hair. And it is her watching, and as she sees you see her, she turns away, still with that sort of concerned and disapproving expression on her face, and just walks off down a side street.
Just in case there's anyone else watching us, I will say this out of the corner of my mouth and under my breath to Stephen and Andrew, but I will draw attention to the fact that we seem to have been watched by Lysindra Goldengrasp, and she did not look too happy with what we've just done.
Isn't that her daughter we just looted?
What?
I don't know where you're coming to that conclusion from. Please,
From the
elucidate.
inscription on the back of the medallion, I assume that's a different name. I'm very bad at names.
Anadea was the name.
And also, it was the name of the woman, not the mother.
Okay. This is why I'm the thumping monkey.
It says to Anadea, my beloved daughter. The implication being that Anadea is the woman who you've just found the body of.
From her unnamed parent.
Unnamed mother. Yeah.
Okay. I think we discuss this over a pint.
Oh, that's a good plan. I mean, I can only assume that she's upset that we got the job to go down the sinkhole and she didn't. I mean, presumably every sellsword in the town wants to get paid to go down there and see what's there.
Yeah, but also wasn't there another woman looking for us as well. Who
She
does
was-
not match
was.
her description.
Does not
Yes.
match her description. No, that was a fair-haired woman, I believe, in brown clothing.
Mm-hmm.
We seem to be attracting unsurprising amount of attention, and we should take precautions.
Maybe we should go for a drink in a different tavern.
Oof, that's I don't know. Those that place has her back. The Witching Familiar has been solid. Plus,
Yeah.
I'm not entirely certain we don't want to be found, as there's a lot of information we're still missing about our prospective and now deceased employer.
That depends an awful lot on who it is that's looking for us and what it is that they want. Most of the people that we've spoken to since coming to this town seem to primarily want to throw us in harm's way.
Yeah, and we get good money for that. That's kind of my job. Anyway. Pint?
Pint.
Okay, so are we going to the Witch and Familiar? Is that the choice we're making?
Yeah, I think that's my plan.
Sure. You head off towards the Western Gate. You bid farewell to Ganderald and Marvello, who go off on their various journeys. Ganderald says he'll, put in a good word with you for the Masters for what you've done, and payment will be forthcoming at some point. He shrugs as if kind of he understands that the Audio Magica's payments, while they always arrive, do not necessarily arrive promptly. And you wander through the streets, still kind of thronged with a lot of people who are looking a little bit shell-shocked, a little bit the worse for wear. And you head to the Witch and Familiar. And as you walk in, the barkeep, the man whose name I have some kind of block in my head on remembering, Alamar, is it?
That's what my notes say.
Alamar, it is Alamar. As you walk in, Alamar just goes, "Oh, there they are. That's them." And he seems to be talking to a small goblin boy who, another messenger, wearing a dark brown knitted cap, who turns as you enter and kind of looks quite pleased and sort of scampers over to you and proffers you a small, a simple envelope sealed with red lacquer. It has no stamp on it or any kind of like markings of who may have sent it.
I'll accept it in exchange for a shilling, maybe.
Sure. He looks delighted with that. And sort of tips his cap and says, "Thank you," and kind of goes to leave.
Okay. Usual table, I suppose.
You wanted us to be findable.
Well,
Usual table with the latest. Yep.
The one
Okay,
under
well-
the Adventurers for Hire sign, I suppose, at this
Sure.
stage.
So as we've described before, the Witch and Familiar, coated with moss and plants and stuffed animals, and you all sit cross-legged around a small fire pit, which probably isn't lit, while Alamar brings you some, as he usually does, some food and drink. Still indebted to you for saving his tavern. Oh, probably nearly a year ago now. Yeah, what are we investigating first? We've got some talking to do. We've got that belt purse to investigate. We've got this letter. The cup runneth over.
I'll crack open the letter once I've had my first yummy adult juice.
Sure, absolutely. Rather than me read it out, we do have a handout for it. John, could you? I probably should have arranged which ones these are. I think I have it. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Let's pop this up. We might need to zoom it a bit for people to read. No, you can read that. Well, Chris, you're opening it, so why don't you give that a read for us?
Oh, fucking cryptic. What you know can kill you. Meet me in Caligal's Alley now. Maybe we can help each other. Like, now's a very subjective term. That goblin could have been waiting for hours. Oh, this will be from the red-haired lady, won't it?
I don't know.
Lysintra Golden Grasp.
It's not particularly cryptic. What it says is, what you know can kill you. Maybe in Caligra's alley now, maybe we can help each other. I think we have a tradition here, which is that we go nowhere until we finish the pints.
That sounds like a I also suggest we leave the items just in case that becomes pertinent later on.
Leave them here.
Yeah.
Should we find out what they are?
Oh yeah, that's something.
Should
else
probably
we can
open
do.
the belt purse if you want to have any interest in that. For sure.
Yep, I think I had that squirreled away, so I'll kind of open it out, and I won't tip it unceremoniously onto the table. I will make sure it's not a cursed Symbaroum grenade.
Absolutely. Well, what is in there in total? There is some money. Not in a coin bag. Looks to be about $6 and 13 shillings. I guess it's up to you what you do with that. There is a crude key that nevertheless has quite an intricate bit. There is a coin-shaped sun symbol of black and silver. And there is a patterned gold pearl about the size of an eyeball. Anyone who is rummaging around in this bag as well can go ahead and give me a vigilant roll.
I think I would have mostly been watching Steo go through the stuff rather than fishing around in there as well.
That is a 16. Not rolling under 10 today, everyone. That is also a massive failure.
Anton, do you think you might be having a rummage in there at all?
Honestly, I don't think so.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
I'll roll another 16 if you like.
Sure, it's up to you.
What is it? It's vigilant, right?
Yeah. If you don't feel your character would, then don't feel you have to. Like, I'm not forcing anyone.
I think it was more just that I pictured the scene with Steo kind of surreptitiously sort of showing us rather than us all kind of crowding around.
Yeah. Do whatever you want.
I failed the roll.
So, there's a number of things to take from this. The first thing that occurs, and I'm not even going to make you roll for it, Anton and Elindra, you know exactly what that the coin-shaped sun symbol of black and silver is. You know it because every single initiate or novice who is associated with the Sun Temple in any way, whether that be through as training to become a Theurg, training to become a member of, the kind of common staff, or training to take up arms as part of the Templars or the Black Cloaks. Every single one of them, yourself included, has an identical coin to this. It is widely termed Prios penny, although that's not what it's actually called. And only people who have been trained by the Sun Temple have one of these coins, unless they've lifted it off someone, obviously.
Well, I'll obviously exchange luck with Elindra at this point.
Yeah.
So presumably Steo would know this as well, maybe, but if he is looking confused, then we'll explain.
Yeah, like we could make him make a cunning roll, but like,
I'll just say maybe a member of the church then.
Yeah.
Why would the church have...
Well, the medallion marked her as a follower as well, and the Prios penny, assuming that it's hers, I see no reason why it wouldn't be. Makes that official.
Yeah, I'll tie this bag up and we'll leave it in safekeeping with Alamar for the meanwhile. So
yeah, and as I say, there's a simple key with an elaborate, intricate kind of bit on the end of it, and there's that oddly patterned gold pearl, some money. I think that's everything, right? Is that everything? That's everything. Yeah,
it's all back in the bag now.
All back in the bag.
Presumably, the pearl looks quite valuable. So
it does look quite valuable. Yeah.
I'll turn to the rest of the group and say, I don't feel comfortable with us keeping hold of this. I think we should make an effort to return this to someone who knew this person, Anadea.
Yeah, I'm just not. I don't think that person is going to be the same person who offers vaguely threat-like cryptic sentences on pieces of paper by underpaid goblins. I say we go empty-handed. At least then we've got leverage.
Yeah, I don't think that Anadea and Lysindra necessarily knew each other, but like, yeah, if we can find out who Anadea was, maybe myself and Elindra can ask around at the church, then yeah, we should make some effort to return her belongings to someone who really knew her, maybe some family or close friends.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right, Steer. We shouldn't take this with us if we go to this alley nearby.
Let's take the valuable stuff to the shady alley. Yeah.
Yeah, you do reckon certainly at least Theo and possibly also probably also Askarine, maybe Anton do also recognize Callegra's alley is an alleyway in Halaban's Ring. So it's not too. I mean, it's not too far from here. It's probably one of the alleyways you maybe investigated during the when you were looking for the Flayer. So you know where it is.
Well, I think we're just waiting on the pint, unless anyone else has.
Okay, I'll roll for how long the pint takes. It's done.
You're not supposed to roll. This is Symbaroum.
It's true. You gave me no option. So, yeah. If you are we proceeding to the alleyway? Is that what we're doing now? Leaving the bag of valuables. Are you just going to leave it in your rooms, or are you actually going to hand it over to the innkeeper?
I think I'll start to call in. Yeah, I'll see if Alamar will just put it in a keep safe box for us. I suppose we probably have one by now, given we're regulars.
Yeah, I think everyone but Steo actually lives here, right? So you can certainly put it in. Maybe you even have a shared room. Maybe you can store it in there, like under some furniture or something to keep it safe. That's fine.
Yeah, I would do the same with the medallion as well.
Absolutely. So, you head out of the Witch and Familiar and up north. It's now mid-afternoon towards Callegra's Alley, and it doesn't take you, or all told, too long to get there. As you are walking around Halaban's Ring, and this is kind of the northerly part of Thistlehold, a part where you spent quite a bit of time recently, kind of where everyone gathered to watch the witches come out of the forest, and indeed near where the sinkhole is, although a bit further along than that, it hasn't collapsed into the sinkhole, which would make it difficult. And as you are proceeding along Halaban's Ring towards the alley, all of you hear a woman's muffled voice from the narrow alley saying, "In here, hurry!"
Casual, with practiced casualness, I will suddenly change direction towards that voice.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. As you come kind of flush with the entrance to the alley, you can see a woman dressed in worn leather armor waving at you from a nook about 10 places in. You do not recognize her as either Lysindra Goldengrasp, and she doesn't seem to match the description of the woman who was looking for you earlier. She has kind of like rough brown hair and is just kind of indicating for you to come into the alleyway.
Is the alleyway? It's in line with the directions we received to this place. It's not like this is a distraction play, is it?
No, this is the alley that you were asked to come to. So
perfect. In which case, I'll assume this is above board and in good faith.
Sure. So we're all heading in, and as you are maybe about 10 paces from her, her companions appear. Some of them walking into the alley behind you, a couple of them on a rooftop nearby who unsling bows and start aiming them at you. She gives you a slightly sickly grin and charges. Cool. Can we bring up an initiative order, please, John? There we go. Ruffians. That's what we're up against, folks. Filthy, filthy ruffians. So, let's get going on that while I quickly write down some. There are 6 of them in total, by the way. Are there 6 of them? Because I noted down that there were 6 because I kind of thought I'd write Askarai out at this point. And you know what? Let's retcon him out of it, because otherwise I'm have to constantly talk about Askarai and stuff, right? So let's say that Askarai said that he had business of his own to take care of, and that you didn't need him for this. And has wandered off. Maybe he's taking care of the purse, guarding it or something. Whatever. Doesn't matter. He's not here for the stream, so there we go. Yeah, there are 6 of them in total. 3 of them are charging you from behind. 1 of them is ahead of you, the woman, and 2 of them are armed with bows on a nearby rooftop, which is easily kind of scrambleable up to with like a quick climbing roll. Elindra, what are you doing?
Let's turn around and deal with one of the 3 that is charging from behind.
That seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. So why don't you go ahead and give me an attack roll, please? And their defense is +2.
Right. That's a 20.
That's 20 isn't good.
It's not. It's been shocking tonight.
Some might call it bad.
Askarai suddenly returns from his absence and favors.
No, let me tell you, folks, if you can't manage this combat, then we might as well abandon the campaign right here. That's a free attack from them on you. Why don't you give me a defense roll, please, at a -3?
I needed 13. I got 15, so that's also a fail.
That's fine. Can you give me an armor roll, please?
Yeah. Give me a second. I'll roll 3.
Okay. Well, all of them are armed with kind of rough spears, apart from the two bowmen on the roof. And the one dashing towards you kind of jabs at you with that spear and leaves a very light score on your hand for 1 toughness.
Okay.
Can you possibly survive? It's the ruffians now, and they're gonna. I'm gonna kind of slightly randomize the charges again. So we have one of them is already engaged with Elindra, and we have another 2. Yes, 2 running in from behind, and we have 1 running in from the front. So let's see who they engage with. One of them. Maybe the woman who beckoned you into the alleyway is going to charge Anton, and the other 2 are going to charge Steo, which means before we get their attacks in, Steo gets a free attack in on them because of his spear polearm mastery.
Slightly broken skill, right?
Yeah, so why don't you give me 2 attack rolls at +2, please?
15, 16, 17 or less. 4.
Mm-hmm.
And 12. 2 successes. And my +1 for the good speed as well, which I didn't contract.
2 successes. Can you give me 2 damage rolls then, please?
I can, and that is D10 +1. 7 and 10.
Okay, so so that one's going to be at that, and the other one was 10, you say?
Yep.
Yeah. So that is going to be at that. You've gone over one of their pain thresholds. Do you want to knock them prone or get another attack in?
I'll knock them prone.
Okay. Fair enough. So the 2 of them dash towards you, and with trained swiftness, you react quickly. You throw the tip of your spear across their faces to make them dodge back, and then quick as a flash after that you jab twice. One blow goes into one of their shoulders and leaves a nasty looking wound. The other one punctures their face, but not deep enough to kill them, but they're left with a ragged gouge along their cheek and blood pouring from their mouth, and they stumble backwards and collapse to the floor, kind of howling and holding their face. So, being as you've knocked him prone, I think he's going to spend his turn clambering up to his feet. Then the other one you just mildly wounded is going to attack you. So, give me a defense roll at a -3, please.
7 or less. 16.
Okay, give me an armor roll then, please.
And that is the 1d10. 9. Ooh.
Yeah, their spear does kind of impacts rather centrally on your plate, does absolutely nothing. Let's roll for the one attacking Alindra again. So can you give me a defense roll? It's a -3, please, Alindra.
-3. So I need a 10 or less. Oh my, it's another 20.
Good lord. Good
Fire
lord.
your dice.
Have I got your dice, Mike?
Give me an armor roll. Give me an armor roll then, please.
3.
Okay. Now, of course, their damage is increased because you rolled a fumble defense, but still. I think this is fair to interpret. Maybe, Alindra, you were at the back of the group, didn't see the woman smile and come to attack you, and like you're kind of like the guy in your face is a bit of a shock to you, and you're desperately kind of like staggering backwards, and he gets another jab in which scores a line just kind of across your brow and into your temple, and blood starts running into one eye. You rolled a 3, so that's 4 toughness, please, that you've just taken.
Okay.
I'm starting to regret that comment about if we can't manage this combat, then let's not bother with the rest of the campaign.
Yes.
But we'll see how we do. Anton, why don't you roll me a defense roll at a -3, please?
Oh, crikey. No. Armor.
Yep, armor roll, please.
I think honestly, like the scene ended
The
before.
blessed shield it will not still be up, I'm afraid.
3.
Okay. Then he gets. He doesn't manage to jab you with the end of the spear, but he bashes you with the haft of it, and that's just 1 toughness.
Okay.
And then there's 2 bowmen as well, and they're going to attack some random folks. First, one of them is going to shoot at Anton. So that's a defense roll at a -3, please, again.
No.
And an armor roll, please.
4.
Okay. You feel an arrow kind of like tumble away from your robe where it kind of got snagged and caught and skitters along the floor of the alleyway. Alindra, can you give me a defense roll at -3, please, for the other bowman?
Defense -3. I needed a 10. I get a 17. So that's an improvement on 20.
It is better than 20, so that's good. Armor roll, please.
5.
Okay, you feel the impact of an arrow on one of your pauldrons that then just pings off and crumples to the ground. Time to reply, folks. Steo, you have one who's kind of clambering to his feet back in front of you, kind of holding the ruin you've made of his face, and the other one is sort of looking a bit desperate with a puncture wound in their shoulder. Which one are you going for?
I think I'm going to go for the one with the punctured shoulder. Steel has yet to grasp that this is not just a bunch of thugs who are going to run away once we damage them enough. So I'm going to try and damage them enough rather than kill them.
Sure. So you're going for the one who's less wounded, right?
Yes, the one who's just got a punctured shoulder.
Sure. So that's an attack roll at +2, please.
17 or less. 4.
There we go. And damage roll, please.
D10. 6.
6. So that's that much damage. You jab the one on their feet again in the hip this time, and he gives a cry and sort of, he's not running away from you yet, but he's certainly kind of limping on his feet and just like wildly thrusting out with that dagger. Anton, with the spear rather, not the dagger. Oh, I haven't been asking if anyone wants to take other actions, but I'm assuming we're not moving away or doing anything like that. No. So
Anton's just sprinting back to the Witch and Familiar.
Masquerade!
No, I don't really want to move. I think I will just attack. I'll just flail.
attack the woman kind of
Yeah.
fighting you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, why don't you give me an attack roll then, please, at +2?
Hey, I make it.
Yeah, and roll that damage for us.
I think it's a D10 now. Right.
I think it is as well, because you got a fancy flail, right?
New flipping big flail. Hey, it's a 1. That's a 1.
That's a 1. Good stuff. So yeah, you strike at the woman with your flail, and it definitely batters into her, but seems to just kind of the surface, the kind of metal balls on the end of it. Got that right. Just kind of slide across the leather armor she's wearing and kind of clunk against the wall of the alleyway, and don't really do a thing. So let's carry on. We have 2 of them horribly wounded by Steo, and none of the others affected even in the slightest. Elindra, go for it.
Okay, so I'm still facing off against. Is it 2 or 3 at the back? I mean, I can only fight.
Just one of them. Just one of them.
Okey-dokey.
You've also got a bad case of the archers, but
yeah, I'm kind of thinking ground level first because that's the more immediate in my face threat. So what is that? That's a
So an attack roll at a +2.
+2. Yes, that is a success.
Okay, now give me a damage roll, please.
Now we don't have that, so it's
You don't have
just
Revenant Strike
12.
active. No.
That's a 6 then.
That's a 6. In that case, you slice a rather deep cut into their arm, and they give a sort of muffled grunt of pain and desperately start fighting back against the individual who, well, up until now, they clearly saw you as something of easy pickings, but although I don't quite know why, being as you've got a big sword and lots of armor, but, you know. Because of your dice rolls, that's why. We are on to them again, folks. So let's move down my list here. First off is the one fighting Elindra. Let's have their reply to this. So can you give me a defense roll at -3, please?
Sure. Oh, that's a success.
There we go. Clearly distracted by the wound you've just dealt, they miss you. The lady fighting Anton. Why don't you give me a defense roll at -3, please?
No.
Nope. That's an armor roll then, please.
Armor roll 4.
Again, their spear gets caught in your robe. You escape more damage being dealt to you. Steo, 2 defense rolls, please.
7s or less. 1 success, a nice 6, and a 4.
There we go. The 2 facing you are clearly terrified of your martial prowess, having jabbed unconscionable amounts of holes into them, and they are kind of they're not retreating, but they're backing away from you and clearly not getting much damage in. The 2 firing arrows are going to fire at Elindra and Steo, so can both of you give me a defense roll at -3, please?
Failed.
Okay, can you give me an armor roll, please?
2.
Okay. You feel the impact of another arrow, and this time it seems to sandwich itself between the kind of rough plates of armor along your arm, and you feel a stinging pain in there that represents 2 toughness.
Oui.
Steo, which of these poor bastards are you going to finish off?
I think it's going to be the most damaged one first. Like, these guys aren't running. It's death time.
Sure.
Okay, 17 or less.
Which weirdly isn't the guy you jabbed in the face, but yeah.
It's the face jabbers what I'm going for, because I assume Steel
okay,
is
sure.
that that's the one.
He does have more toughness, but yeah, barely. So, and the damage roll, please.
Damage roll is a 6.
Yeah, that is enough. That was a 5 that you just showed us. You are aware of that,
+1
right?
from the spear.
Isn't the +1 to hit, not to damage?
No, it's both, because it is both precise and deep impact.
Oh, okay, fair enough then.
Spear.
So yeah, absolutely. The one with the jabbed in face yeah, he kind of gives a sort of cry of rage and steps forward to try and cow you into submission, and you just wheel back, let him run behind you, and sort of swing your spear around, back thrust it into him as he goes past you, and you hear him give a kind of noise and collapse to the ground. His companion does not look happy. Yeah, one of them dead. One of them dead. Anton, I'm sure you can manage a similar strike.
Let's have a go.
Attack roll at +2, please.
Yeah, make it.
And the damage roll?
2. I'm getting better.
You are that's double the last one. Fast. That's a massive improvement. Oh, he's so offended with what I've said. He's just left. That's terrible. I'm sure he will rejoin us in a second. Regardless, that does not penetrate the armor. So there we go. There he is. Back. Were you offended at my slight of the damage you'd done, Mike? Or
no, that was entirely fair, and I let's just say that my mouse clicking ability is as good as my damage rolls tonight.
Rolled a 20 on the mouse. That's good. Your strike doesn't damage through leather armor again. Elindra.
Let's have another go at this one from the back.
Yeah.
So that's
a plus
minus
attack at +2.
It's a +2. Ah, lovely.
Mm-hmm.
That is a comfortable success.
The damage roll, please.
So the damage. We get a 4.
4. You know what? It's better than a 3.
That's true.
So yeah, you leave this individual with another slice across their ribs. Nothing that's going to, send them screaming from the combat, but still, they've got to be bleeding quite heavily now after everything you've done. And let's find out how much they're bleeding. Can you give me a defense roll for their strike back, please? That'll be defense at -3.
It's a 16 again, which is a fail.
Okay,
So
and then an armor roll, please.
3.
Okay. Again, this is a death by 1,000 cuts for Elindra. You're left with slightly bruised side as he slams the haft of his spear into you. Take 1 toughness again, please. Anton, can you give us a defense roll at -3? It's definitely more like a war of attrition without Askari just finishing one person off every round, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes less well when we get like turns.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I make it. Yeah, I do make it. -3. Yeah.
So her spear, you managed to nimbly leap aside, unweighed down by anything as clunky as actual armor. You managed to nimbly step aside, and her thrust goes wide. Steo, can you take a defense roll at -3? Against your remaining opponent, please.
7 or less is a 4. I've got the great dice this evening.
Is a 4. He's too cowed by what you've done to his friend, and he's not going to hit you. The 2 arrows are coming in, 1 at Anton and 1 at Elindra. So why don't you guys roll defense at -3 for me there, please?
Fail. Armor.
Then armor rolls, please.
4.
1.
Okay. Elindra, you feel another arrow kind of bounce off your armor and skitter off into the darkness of the alley. Anton, you, on the other hand, feel an arrow slam its way into your back, and it pierces. It certainly feels quite deep. It feels like you've just been stabbed in the back. That's 3 toughness, please. You're on mute, mate.
Yeah, I just said ouch.
I'm assuming that doesn't down you or anything like that. So you are again on mute.
I've got 6 points left.
Okay, that's plenty then. For some reason, I thought you only had 6 toughness or something, but clearly not.
Unmute. I've got 10 in total.
That's much better than 6. So Steo, what are you going to do to this last remaining gentleman?
Let's find out together. 17 or less to hit. That's a 3.
Mm-hmm.
And 1d10 damage is an 8.
Is an 8. Yeah. The guy is clearly fearful of you, and as soon as you see him, and he's just basically so scared he keeps opening up gaps in his defense. You wait a second or two, dodge to the side, thrust. He takes it through his side and out his back, and he crumples to the ground. Not going to attack anyone in an alleyway again. How would you like to spend your movement action?
Gonna make to scrabble up the roof and see if I can start dealing with these archers.
Start dealing with the archers. That's absolutely fine.
I think that's fair enough. I think yeah, because the archers are getting free hits. I should just deal with their.
Yeah, you have faith in your companions to deal with their opponents.
I'm also a skirmisher now and not a linesman, so I should not be.
Sure, you have completely transformed your fighting style via purchasing it for 10 points.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm in the game.
Yeah. So yeah, you can start scrabbling up the side of that wall. Can you give me a quick roll, please?
Oof. I mean, quick is 10, so it's a coin flip. 16.
Yeah, you don't manage to scrabble up again. You can try next turn, or you can attack the others. Do whatever you want, but definitely, those men who got up on that roof, they presumably also had to climb up there, but they look a lot younger than you, so maybe that's a factor there. Anton, get a flailing.
Yeah, let's flail. 3.
Okay,
so that's good.
And the damage.
What are we thinking? Am I going to roll a 3? No, I've rolled a 7.
That's better. This time your flail hits true and kind of cracks into the side of her arm. You hear her cry out in pain, and you're fairly sure you heard a snap or a crunch of some kind. So clearly you have started dealing some serious damage at last. Elindra.
We've got to finish this guy off, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
So
an attack at +2.
+2. That is a success.
And your damage?
There's 11.
Just 11. That is certainly enough. You have been dealing small cuts to each other most of the way through this. Does Elindra fight with a shield? I can't remember.
Not really. No, she's just got a kind
just
of
got a kind of sword. Yeah. You, similar to Steo, you kind of your calm has returned to you now after your initial kind of assault that was launched on you, and you've taken your time to kind of batter away a few strikes and breathing easily now, maybe with a bit of extra room in the alleyway as well, with the 2 dead on the ground that Steo has killed. You managed to kind of circle around him, and this guy's footwork is definitely not up to par. You managed to make him stumble forward into an assault, knock him to one side, and with a quick thrust through his neck, he drops to the ground of the alleyway. And as he does so, you hear a cry on the roof of, "This isn't worth it!" And the 2 bowmen start you hear them start running away across the rooftop. The woman fighting you, Anton, seems to sort of panic, and she's now trying to scramble her way past you rather than fight you any further. You can get a free attack on her for sure, but also, does anyone want to try and stop her? I'd say you're all close enough to be able to kind of do that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, try for something non-lethal now. Like, I don't want to attack, but maybe I could, try and sort of grapple.
Absolutely fine. Why don't the 3 of you? You can all, or anyone who does want to try and stop her, and give me a strong roll, and all the strong rolls will be at -1.
I figure that she's closer to Anton than me. I think if she gets past Anton, I am going to attack her.
Sure.
But that's a strong roll anyway for me. So
yeah,
that's a strong roll. Big old miss from me.
Okay, so she definitely batters past Anton, who probably goes careening into the side of the alleyway. Steo, it looked like you made yours, right? Because your strong's quite high. Yeah. You basically, and I'm assuming you're doing this in a non-lethal fashion. You swing your spear around by the haft and just thrust it and batter her kind of against kind of her collar and her throat, and she kind of staggers back, crashes into the wall and down to the floor, and kind of tosses her spear to the ground and goes, all right, it's just a job,
Cool. You'll be telling us your employer you'll be dying.
Just all right, and you'll let me go?
Don't see a reason why not, lads.
All right.
Lindra.
Look, I'll look. You don't need to go rummaging around or anything. You don't need to get violent. All right. She's reaching for a coin purse on her belt.
Do you know what? Go ahead.
Two thala. That's what she gave us. She throws it out on the ground in front of her and says, "Look, I couldn't tell you her name. I don't know it. Do you want a description? If I give you a description, will you let me go?"
Yeah, that'll do.
All right. She looked ordinary. Fair hair, brown tunic, brown trousers. 30s, maybe. She just said you'd be coming here and to deal with you. I don't know what it's about. Look, you know how to fight. You've got enemies. I'm no threat to you. I won't bother you again.
Yeah, beat it, I suppose. Lindra?
I suggest in future you think very carefully about what 2 thala is worth.
Right.
Did you send a note?
Go.
What note?
That's fine.
She looks like really surprised that you're letting her go. Kind of scrambles half to her feet, leaves her honestly fairly crappy spear in the dust and dirt on the alleyway floor, and scampers off past you and out into the streets as fast as her feet will take her.
Well,
so our mystery fair-haired contact
is trying to kill us.
And knows where some of us live.
is trying to kill us, but not very hard. 2 thala and a bunch of street ruffians.
And a cryptic note.
It's
problem.
Yeah, it's a message. It's the don't do whatever you're doing message.
I mean, just putting that in a message would have saved everybody an awful lot of trouble.
A bit of money. Look, we're wasting really quite critical amounts of pint time here. And honestly, I could do, at the very least, with a massage, if not some medical attention.
Yeah, agreed.
Speaking of that medical attention, if people want to make their medicus rolls to heal themselves and others, Anton and Steo can each make a roll for everyone. So
I think, Anton, you're looking the most cut up comparatively. Yeah, I'll let's make the roll first. And it is on cunning.
it is.
Which is an 11 or less. 10 is less than 11. I think it's a controlled situation. I don't think I'm going to blow a patch on this, so it's just going to be a D4.
Yeah, one of your what are they called? Herbal cures.
Herbal cures, yeah. And that's a 3. Respectable.
So that's I think Mike's having dog trouble. Maybe. Who knows? Well, that's a 3 for toughness for you, Mike. Recovered.
Great. I also was successful. I also rolled a 10. So, yeah, I think I'm rolling. Is it a D4? Just for the standard. That's a 3.
Okay, that should be you all healed up then, I think. Yeah, and I think Alindra also took it. Steo, did you take any damage?
I don't think I did, actually.
No,
so
I don't
my
think
comment about being injured is probably spurious.
But both of you could probably roll for Alindra if you wanted to.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
That would be lovely.
How badly beat up are you? Actually, it's just
I
cuts.
took 8 toughness in that fight.
But like 1 by 1, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, critical!
Nice. No difference. Now, you know what? Go on. Yeah, sure. Take a +1 to your D4 roll.
Yeah, and that's a 4.
Yay! Thank
Again,
you.
not using the patches here because it's not a war. So
Yeah.
And I rolled 2.
So that's 6 healing altogether. Yeah, you kind of pay attention to each other's wounds, and they mostly turn out to be, far worse looking than they are. These were clearly not very proficient street toughs, and you fought them off fairly readily. Although you suspect that it would have gone much smoother had you had a changeling with a bow alongside you. So, what are we doing?
back to the pub, I think.
Yeah, I think we've had our ambush for the evening.
Although your point earlier, Alindra, about the fact that we now know they're trying to kill us, and we know they know we live at the pub. But
okay, so look, I don't want to blow our own trumpets, right? Like, I am not long out of the church. This is my first time in Thistlehold. You people are known around these parts, right? You've been into Davakar. You've proven how tough you are. Unless whoever this person is doesn't know the first thing about you, two Thala street thugs just seems like an insult. Like, that doesn't seem like a serious attempt. Or am I just wildly?
I mean, people who know they're not. You're not very well known people around Thistlehold, even for sellswords. Like, you've been off into Davakar and done an expedition. That's
okay. So it's plausible that could have seemed like a sort of proportionate bounty, a number of people to send after some people you want dead. Okay,
definitely, I think so.
Okay.
yeah, look, we came back from the forest alive. Look, the city's more about the politics than the sword play, anyway.
I would far rather just find this person and talk to them and find out why they were trying to kill us.
Exactly.
It seems a little unfair to be ambushed and murdered for motivations that we're not even aware of. But I don't even know how do we get a message to them?
Well, they seem to be looking for us quite fervently, but I imagine they'll start to be a bit more surreptitious now they've played their hand.
I think we just go and sit back in the Witch and Familiar and wait for them.
Yeah. On the other hand, the note did specify that it's something we already know could kill us, so maybe we have some information whose value has not been thoroughly understood.
Of course, assuming that the note sent to you to deceive you into going to a place to get killed was being honest with you with the first sentence.
Yeah. Steel
the note was entirely accurate.
Guile.
It's true.
Anyway, pints.
Are we just going back to the Witch? It's not evening or anything yet, by the way. It's still kind of late afternoon.
What else?
So.
I mean, we could go and talk to the Ordo, but honestly, I'd prefer more than one day's rest between having to speak to them.
I was under the impression the plan was to go to the Sun Temple.
Oh, yes, of course. Do you want to remember that suddenly, Anton?
To try to find Anadea's family?
Or at least something about her, I guess.
Yeah.
If she had one of those coins.
We'd probably swing by the Witch and Familiar to pick up and her belongings as well.
Yeah, we can skip the storytelling if you want, but I'm not going to the temple without another drink first. It's that kind of day.
Sure, absolutely. You head back, and in the process of picking up the sort of the items. Shall we have, let's say, shall Ascarai pop up? Or like, you know what? Ascarai can take a roll anyway because he's been looking after the items, right? So we'll do that. Oh, terrible rolls. That's fine. As you head back to the Witch and Familiar, Ascarai brings down the kind of coin belt purse for you and hands it you, which still has kind of all the items in. Is anyone going to take a look in it further or look at any of the items further in any detail? Because I think Steo just got them out and kind of waved them around and then put them back in. Is anyone going to look at them before you take the stuff with you? Or
I'll kind of hand the bag over to Anton, given that it seems to. I think we all agree that there is some relationship to the temple here.
Sure.
And Anton is our number one priest person at the moment.
Number one priest.
Take that, Elindra.
Sure.
I am comfortable being number 2.
Do you think you might kind of open and just have a look at the contents? You think that's reasonable, Mike? You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Terrible. Yes, I probably would give everything just another glance over, just for my own curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. And why don't you, while you're doing that, there's another couple of rolls you could make, but why don't you give me a vigilant test, please, as you're handling the stuff?
No, failed by 1. Fancy having a look at
Ascarai has failed twice on it now, and his vigilance is 15.
Wow.
So
I don't know if this is a thing that's applicable. I would like to look at the stuff, but I think I would like to try again with not again with these things, but try witch sight on the items. I can use it on a creature, location, or object.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask that, in fact, while you are doing that, and also while you're handling them, Anton, can we have a vigilant test from Elindra and a cunning test from Anton, please?
That is a fail for me.
fail.
Okay. Boy, I'm glad you're failing all these roles in the beginning detective part of this story, because let me tell you, that's going to make the events to come much easier for me to access. I'm not going to have to jump any sharks at all. No, it's all good. Yeah, you look at the items, nothing else kind of occurs to you about them other than what you were looking at before. There's the key with, an intricate bit on it, the coin, Prios penny, and this golden pearl, and a small coin purse of coin.
Yep, these items seem perfectly normal.
Certainly nothing suspicious there.
Nothing to investigate whatsoever.
I can't do like Law Master or anything like that. Or
that was your Law Master role.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Anyway. Maybe a passing competent priest will be able to discern what's going on here, but I think we proceed to the temple. Okay,
is that the general plan? Once again, Ascarai will stay behind. I think Mike suggested in private chat he's got a dodgy stomach, so let's go with that. Ascarai has diarrhea, so we'll tell Sam that before he arrives back next week. Ascaria. Let's move on, and let's move on to the Sun Temple. So, the Sun Temple. Can you bring up the map of Thistlehold, please, John? While I also find the map of Thistlehold. So the Sun Temple, and actually I know where it is anyway. The Sun Temple is marked number 29 on there. It's literally about halfway down on the easterly side of the city. And there next to it, the large triangular green spaces called the Park of Elders, which is a kind of quite as pleasant a park as Thistlehold has, really. And by it is the large and impressive Sun Temple, which is a building of dark grey stone with a number of stories surmounted by a large and really, at least impressive for Thistlehold, copper dome. It's certainly one of the more impressive buildings in Thistlehold. And, it seems to be under high pressure right now as you walk along in the very late afternoon. There are many people there, both in the Sun Temple and around the Park of the Elders, seeking comfort, having lost relatives and friends to the sinkhole. Even more are afraid and seem to be demanding reassurance from the priests that what has happened should not be understood as a punishment from Prios. The grand hall of the temple, which is called the Light Yard, seems to be full and spilling out with others in the Park of Elders. Some of them just placing autumn flowers at the feet of the statues by the temple's main gate. The statues of the Lightbringers, Eberron Ambra and Ilione Karas, who both died a hero's death in the war against the Dark Lords. About 10 priests are moving around in the temple and in the park that you can see, offering blessings and words of comfort to all the visitors. None of them you particularly recognize, Anton, although you don't recognize most of the people in the Sun Temple, in all honesty, because you haven't spent much time here since you arrived.
Correct.
I don't suppose I can just put some flowers at the feet of the two statues. Obviously, Steel, being a war veteran, has some strong members. I
Sure,
believe these
maybe.
are war people, aren't they?
Yep, they are. They are indeed. Lightbringers are the Sun Temple's equivalent of saints, essentially. And yeah, these are two who lost their lives during the war. So
yeah, so I definitely pay those particular
yeah,
respects.
you can go while the others are maybe meandering around. You can go pick some flowers from the Park of Elders and pay your respects for sure.
So is there a part of the Sun Temple, Matt, where like a barracks is the wrong word, but like that sort of place where people who like that we saw in the last town, whose name
Castor.
already escapes.
Their equivalent, kind of where all the certainly the initiates and the novices and the like would sleep and live, are certainly around, kind of further deeper. It's not a separate building; they'll be deeper into the Sun Temple. You, however, are not entirely certain you'll be let in because you don't work here. You don't have any function here. Anyone could just wear a priest's robe. So you suspect you would be turned away. There are kind of guards at the doors around the light yard, leading off into the main parts of the building. And the times you've been here before, you've been greeted by Keller out in the yard, and he's brought you inside. So,
okay. Oh God, I really hope Keller's not here. So
there are many Theurgs around. Perhaps you could.
I will just
to one.
Approach one who's not busy or not looking busy, and just introduce myself and say, brother, I've come to learn that someone I met briefly has unfortunately perished in the sinkhole accident that happened yesterday, and I gather that she was involved with the church. Her name is Anadea, and I'm interested to know if anyone here knows of her or could tell me more about her.
Well, first of all, they are all busy. So you do have to wait a while. I'm assuming you're not trying to get one's attention. You're like waiting patiently, because that's the kind of guy Anton is. And as you do so, kind of minutes do pass, but eventually, and it actually kind of reminds you. Remember how the temple was in Castor after, when the place was, this is far worse. Thistlehold is much bigger than Castor, and there's a lot more people here. But eventually, the attention of a Theurg does turn to you. He greets you, and you relay that to him, and you see at first he's kind of nodding and just kind of generally listening. As soon as you mention Anadea, his eyes kind of widen, and he says, Anadea has died? You're on mute.
Terrible. Again. I'm sorry to be the one to break that news to you, brother. She perished in the accident. I believe that she was in the Fern Tavern, and it collapsed into the sinkhole.
He sort of nods and says, "Well, could you wait here, Father?"
Of course.
He turns and walks off into one of those doors that circle the light yard, because the light yard is kind of like on the interior of this large round building, and kind of light. It's called that because light shines in above in great huge beams from the large windows around, bringing Prios glory into this space. Steo and Alindra, as Anton is doing this, are you kind of lurking nearby, or are you doing any mooching of your own?
I think I'm probably standing beside, perhaps back slightly from Anton. I think probably some of the instincts have kicked in, and Alindra would be kind of holding herself like a Templar, although clearly can't pass. As
you have that
robbed.
the kind of tabard you have is like ragged and torn up now, isn't it? So.
I think it's just following Anton's lead and kind of best behavior. It's been a while since I've been in a Sun Temple, I think.
Sure, that seems reasonable. How about you, Steo?
It's also been a while since Theo's been at the Sun Temple, but I think at this stage Theo's picked up that Alindra is a little bit uncomfortable with regards to the Church of the Light, so he'll be kind of masking her as much as possible. But yeah, just kind of keeping an eye on Anton as well and following his lead.
Sure,
this is
absolutely.
his turf.
So after a few minutes, the priest returns out of the one of the doorways that kind of rings this central light yard area, and kind of emerges out a few paces and kind of beckons across at Anton.
Okay, well, I'll go over and maybe kind of like try and indicate if it's okay to bring my companions with me as well.
The priest kind of looks over at them and kind of glimpses and maybe catches a glimpse of Alindra's, and at a glance, it does look like a Templar's gear, and goes, "Oh,
cool." Yeah,
and I suppose Steo's gear does still reminiscent of a city guards to a certain degree as well. And he waves you into the kind of further into the interior of the Sun Temple. And the first thing you notice is that the crowding in the public area is limited to there. You quickly move into a much more silent, still area of the temple, and kind of you can see where the curve of those stone walls comes round on the edges of the building, and you seem to be in essentially a passageway that you suspect rings around the entire building, with rooms coming off on either side of it. He leads you through a draped opening in the west wall of the light yard and onwards through a room dominated by a large table and with a whole long side of the room covered by a tapestry, the silver and gold threads depicting a young mounted Queen Corinthia, sunlit in the midst of a sea of murderous undead. To the left after that is a massive stone gate, bolted with 4 sturdy locks and 3 faders of steel. But your guide keeps moving along the curved corridor with several doors on the left-hand side. At the 3rd door, he stops to knock and waits for an answer. Is there anything you're kind of trying to take note of or saying or doing along this journey, or are you going to stand in silence and wait as he is?
Steel has not been this deep into a Sun Temple before, so he's very interested in in what's going on behind the scenes. The corridors are deserted, or are there any kind of people walking through with bits and pieces?
You saw kind of in the kind of on the edge of your vision, you saw what looks like an initiate just kind of going about their business, but they're mostly quite empty and still. You suspect that most of the staff of the Sun Temple are concerning themselves with the mass of people in and outside of the temple right now. If no one else is going to do anything, then there is a kind of soft murmur from behind the door that you can't really hear fully clearly, and the priest opens it and leads you inside. The chamber you are let into is a small, windowless room without any furnishings. There is a figure kneeling with his back to you over near the far wall, dressed in rich yellow robes. He seems to be praying, but slowly rises and turns towards you as you walk in. It is, and all of you probably recognize him to a certain degree, maybe Alindra less than the others. It is Father Elfino, the High Father of the Sun Temple in Thistlehold. I think we have an image for him. Yeah, he's a man. He's quite young to be the High Theurg of such a prominent Sun Temple as the one in Thistlehold, but that doesn't mean he's young. He's just not very old. He's maybe in his late 40s or early 50s, has quite a kind of craggy appearance, as you can see, and has long dark hair that's bound down to one side of his yellow robes. He looks across you quite slowly and seems to spend a fair while assessing you with a haughty and concerned look on his face. He kind of gestures, and the priest who led you here kind of bows silently and closes the door quietly behind him. Elfino looks across you and says, "You had word of the initiate Anadea?"
I'll give him a solemn bow. I do, Father. We met her briefly in the hours leading up to the sinkhole disaster, and it is that which we believe caused her death. We have since been into the sinkhole, and we stumbled upon her remains. And it was there that we found this. And at that point, I will show the small purse that obviously contains the Prios's penny. You said that she was a student of the church.
Yes, an initiate up until a month ago.
Oh. She when we met her, she seemed to carry a warning of something, but she didn't elaborate on what that might be. But she did say it would be destructive and would cause a great many deaths. It was quite alarming to hear such words.
Yes, I imagine so. Well, neither I nor anyone else in the Church of Prios has had any contact with Anadea over the last month. I'm afraid if she was pursuing something or concerned with something, real or imagined, that I very much doubt that I or anyone else here at the Sun Temple would know of these things. I'm assuming that is what you are searching after. Pardon, you wear the robes of Prios, but I do not know you.
My work for Prios extends beyond Thistlehold into other areas of the north. I did travel to Thistlehold initially under the stewardship of...
oh, you are Anton.
Yes. Came with
You
Keller.
were meant to come serve here, but it seems found a more interesting calling elsewhere.
I think that is an ungenerous way to refer to my work serving our Lord, Father, with all due respect. I did serve under Father Keller for a number of weeks and found myself pushed away from responsibilities with the church. And
Anton has been absolutely invaluable both to us and to the faith in the darkest areas of Davokar where no sunlight has tread before. I would hope.
He sort of waves his hand as if to cut you off and dismiss the matter and says, "It is of no matter. I am aware of the issues with Keller. He is unreliable. May I?" He reaches out for the belt purse.
Of course, Father.
He kind of examines through it and sort of briefly pauses at the gold pearl, which he reaches towards and then retracts his hands from before closing the belt purse again and handing it back to you and says, "Careful with that item. There is corruption upon it. I fear perhaps upon Anadea as well. May she rest well in the light of Prios."
Well, I'll just kind of pull a quizzical face at this point.
So the medallion with the dedication was also in that bag in case that changes in case there was something else.
It actually wasn't. It was found
Isn't it?
separately in
No,
in
no,
the
but
rubble.
we put it in
Oh, you put it in the
afterwards,
bag. Okay, yeah. He did not seem to view that with any kind of sense.
She did.
Father, may I ask the circumstances under which the temple parted ways with Anadea a month ago?
Anadea had lost her conviction. In the brief pause after he says this, there is quite a hesitant little knock at the door again, and in comes the priest who guided you to Elfino. He glides up to the Theurg and whispers something in his ear. Can everyone give me a vigilant roll, please?
But we haven't brought our vigilant changeling.
Your vigilantling.
No, I just failed. Missed by 1.
2.
What?
So Elindra and Steo both notice the look of intense disapproval briefly passing across the face of Father Elfino, who's otherwise quite expressionless. He pauses a second, turns away from the priest, looks back up at you with a nod and says, "Follow me," and glides out of the room ahead of you.
Give a very intent look toward Antom and fall in behind Antom, I suppose.
Yeah.
So Elfino leads you further along the corridor that you were already on, that circular corridor that rings the light yard, further towards the back of the temple. He leads you up a stair that seems to lead to chambers and corridors on the second floor, but apparently you are not heading there, but further up. Behind a door by the stair is a spiral staircase leading even further upwards, and as you reach the top, you can see from the roof overhead that you are inside the copper dome of the temple building. The floor is about 30 paces across and is mostly empty. The exception is found in the western part, where screen walls of sun yellow fabric delimit a part of the space. Someone is moving on the other side, and before you can see who it is, you hear the harsh voice of an old woman saying, "Welcome to my humble abode." The woman who walks out from behind the screen walls is short, wrinkled, and scarred by fire, but with a straight posture and lively light brown eyes. She waves you towards her and says, "Hi, Father. I'm sure this need not take up any more of your time." Elfino, with a slight hesitance to his movement, goes to leave. Everyone can give me a vigilant roll again, and Steel and Elindra can add a +3 to it.
I make it.
Yep, same.
Everyone who makes it sees a grumpy, stern frown on the lips of the first Theurg.
Power dynamics.
The woman shows you into one of the sort of rooms, as it were, created by the screen walls, where she invites you to sit at a round table, which is basically made up of a kind of cracked stone slab, maybe one of the offcuts from the building of the Sun Temple. She waits for you to seat yourselves, which I'm assuming you do, and don't kind of deny her this. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, John, for bringing up her image. And she kind of tilts her head to you all and says, well met, I suppose. My name is Desaber, Theurg and faithful servant of Prios. Tell me of yourselves and your errand to the temple. Everyone with Lawmaster, or who has the trait Contacts, and that trait Contacts leads in some form towards the church, which I think is Anton, and maybe Elindra as well.
Yep.
All of you then, everyone but Steo,
Yep.
can roll against cunning, please.
Yeah, I make it.
I do not.
Well, Anton, you have heard of someone called Deceiber, specifically Deceiber the Old, which certainly seems to fit this woman. She is the only individual ever to have been appointed to the position or status of Lightbringer, a saint of the church, before her death. And it was done because she saved the life of the Queen and of the first father of the church during the war. In circumstances that are not terribly well known, but you are struck with a sudden... You are literally in the presence of a living saint.
I think I will just... my jaw will drop and I will bow... I'll fall to my knees and bow my head.
No. Up. I'm just an old woman. Sit down. Young man, sit down.
I love her. I love her so much. If anything bad happens to her, I quit.
She is struck by lightning. No. But you know what? I think that's actually quite a little good point to leave that there, folks. I think that's we're kind of... We don't have too many cliffhangers right now, so I want to take advantage of the cliffhanger of Anton realizing he's talking to a living saint, and we will leave the session there for the week, I think. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to hang around and put some comments and questions in the chat, we will address them right after I do my wee promo. If you check down below, there's a bunch of links. There's YouTube and Twitch. You're watching on one, please check out the other. There's links to our social media, to our Discord, where you can join up and talk to us about role-playing stuff, to our Patreon, where you can support us in return for some lovely, lovely rewards. We run 3 weekly streams here on Twitch. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, Tuesdays is Blades in the Dark, and Wednesdays is Symbaroum. All of them start at 8 o'clock p.m. BST. This week, we also have a stream tomorrow. That is the 9th of September, where we'll be celebrating our first year of streaming stuff. Amazing. 12 months have passed already. Obviously, the most important things, as I pointed out yesterday in Blades in the Dark, the most important things in 2020 and 2021 are this. It will be what those years are remembered for, primarily, I'm sure, is the years that Telling Tales started. Nothing else of any importance happened. But why not join us tomorrow on a stream, and we'll just be chatting and hanging out and answering questions from chat and stuff. So do come join us for that. That'll start at 8 p.m. tomorrow BST. Also, we run monthly one-shots on Saturdays, and there is the next one this Saturday, on Saturday the 11th, 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST. Pierre will be running Dungeon World, and Chris will be playing in that as well. So if you love a bit of Chris, then join us this Saturday afternoon for Dungeon World. Woof! Bit of Chris. Yeah, there we go. Have we got any comments or questions in the chat, please, Jonathan? Will the crew ever find the secret thing in the coin pouch? Well, I'm going to keep giving them opportunities. If Sam wants to look in it when he arrives, I'll let him roll for Ascarai as well, and then we'll make it. Maybe, who knows? It's not a deal breaker. It's certainly not a deal breaker in the same way that going down into the sinkhole and not looking for Anadea's body would have been. Literally, I can't think of a way to proceed with the entire campaign. It's like that. It's like the little hook thing that like spins everything else out. It would have been like, in Mark of the Beast, when the city guard comes to you and is like, "Can you look for the flare?" It'd be like going, "Yeah." It's just like, oh, then I guess I'm improving the campaign. No, obviously I would have found a way to do it, but finding the secret thing in the coin pouch is not as important as at least finding Anadea's body. That's a key forwards. So.
I reckon we should just, spend the coins and, pawn the rest.
Chuck it. Just randomly generate a ruin for you to go to next and just do that. Yeah, let's do it. Malice, hey, too bad you can't spend luck for those slightly missed vigilance checks for clues. Well, they can spend XP. But yeah, no kind of luck system, but XP's worth a lot in it, so
you kind of miss the luck system after playing like 3 games in a row, which had some mechanism to do so.
Yeah, sure.
Even though I think we all universally did not like the its mechanisms.
Or a way to like push rolls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is handy. It is what, but you can use XP. But then again, XP is pretty valuable, and you want to hang on to it. So yeah,
it's a high price, right? Like you'd spend that on a roll to not die, but I don't know if I would spend that on a roll to just
find something secret or whatever.
Make it slightly more difficult to keep us on track.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's certainly not a deal breaker. It's just my frustration was not that I really need you to find it. I don't really need you to find it. My frustration was that we rolled about 8 times for vigilance and none of them came up, including 2 rolls I made for Ascarai at 15, both of which came up at 18. So yeah. Cool. Is that everything we got, John? No, we got one from John. Now everyone knows how Mike feels. Yeah. Only if they leave their mic muted.
I'm not normally that bad, but I did it like 6 times.
No, you're not normally
tonight.
that bad.
You're
not normally this bad. No one is normally this bad. At all.
Annual review time, everyone.
Yeah. We got anything else, John? Or is that That's it. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, folks, for watching. Thanks to the players. Thanks to John, as always, for being an excellent stream manager. And we'll see you next week. Well, we'll see you next week from one Symbaroum. But please, if you have any interest, do tune in tomorrow for our 1-year anniversary stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be 8 o'clock tomorrow, BST, our usual stream time, if you're not familiar with what 8 o'clock BST might be. And we'll see you there, and we'll have fun. And I'm told that we all have to wear party hats. I don't know how that'll work out, but I think Chris will hurt us all if we don't. So there we go. See you later, everyone. Take care.